I won't pretend to know your exact intentions. However, seeing as I have been in this exact situation no less than 12 times in the last month alone, I think it's safe to say I've gleaned quite a bit of knowledge on the subject and situations such as this. For example, I know that you are most likely after one of 3 things, the first being, of course, ransom. I am the owner of a rather large company, not to mention I'm a very prominent noble. It would make sense that you would expect some sort of financial compensation for my safe return. However, I assure you, no one else has access to my financials, nor would they be allowed to give you any money to ensure my safe return. That would mean you would either be forced to kill me and get yourself in further trouble, or you would have to let me go so I could acquire the money that you desire. And of course, in doing so, I am certain you are aware of the danger you would be putting yourself in. Second on the list, I suspect you might want to send a message to someone, perhaps the Queen herself. It is rather well known in the criminal underworld that I have a very special relationship with the Queen. I am referred to as her guard dog or her lap dog in certain situations. I have very little reason to doubt that this is not just some stunt to get her to back off. However, I assure you, she takes very little concern for my well-being into consideration when she assigns me various tasks, so your efforts would be wasted. And, of course, the third thing I can imagine you are intending to do is to get information out of me. And if and when you are able to torture it out of me, you'll kill me. That might seem all fine and dandy, however, I am not easy to break. In fact, I think you would be the one faced with the challenge of keeping your sanity intact. That is, of course, assuming you even survive long enough to begin torturing me in the first place. I suspect that you would sooner have a butter knife or a fork through your skull before you even got a chance to touch me. Oh, really? You find this rather amusing, do you? Most people do. I am a child after all, and I do present myself with some level of confidence in situations such as this. However, I have good reason to do so, as you will soon find out. Oh yes, you will. Believe me, that smug look on your face will fade as soon as those doors burst open. You can laugh all you want, but believe me, you will soon realize that the only life in danger here is yours. I beg your pardon? No one's life is in danger in this situation. By all means, please tell me what you mean by that. I am certainly not attempting to stall for time. I simply find it rather amusing when a criminal exposits their master plan right before being defeated and proven wrong. So go on. Tell me exactly why you've kidnapped me. I beg your pardon? You did this to keep me safe. Is that right? Oh, then I desperately need to hear exactly what your reasoning is for this. How exactly is kidnapping me going to keep me safe? Do tell me, I need to hear. I'm sorry? How exactly do you know that I was being watched? You what? You have been keeping an eye on me and my household? How on earth did you manage to do that? I make absolutely certain that the grounds are kept clear, that every entrance to my manor is protected and sealed properly. How on earth could you have... What? Sebastian tasked you with keeping the perimeter of the manor safe? Why? Why would he have done this without consulting me? Why would he have done this without informing me? I can't necessarily say that that is incorrect. I would be opposed to this at first. After all, without a proper background check, without proper information, there's no telling whom we would have let onto the grounds to keep an eye out for other criminals. How would we have known that you could be trusted? How could we have even guaranteed that you were qualified for a task such as this? And even if you were, how could we have been assured of where your loyalties lie? Of course, I understand why he didn't consult me. However, it is necessary. After all, if I had seen you lurking about, I could have shot you right where you stood, and I wouldn't have even hesitated. No, I would not have. If I thought that you posed a threat to my safety, I would not have waited a moment. Indeed, I suppose you are lucky that I didn't see you. However, that still left you rather vulnerable. And you have no issue with this? I fail to see how my safety made it all worth it. What kind of compensation were you even getting for this job? If I hadn't been informed, I would not have allowed Sebastian any money with which to pay you. What exactly were you gaining from this? I beg your pardon? What the hell are you talking about? Why did you simply desire to be close to me? That sounds an awful lot like someone else I'm familiar with. Painfully familiar with. And I can't say I care for it in the slightest. So you'd better start explaining, and you'd better pray that you have a better reason for wanting to be close to me than Grell has for wanting to be close to Sebastian. I can't say I do remember you. I apologize, but people are constantly drifting in and out of my life. I'm afraid I can't recognize every face that I've only seen once or twice. I'm sorry. Really? You look different now than you did when I saw you? Well, then why would you expect me to recognize you? I'm sorry? You were on the streets when you were a child. We were both rather young at the time. Even less of a reason for me to remember you. I did what? I gave you a toy when I saw you. Surely I would remember something like that. It may have been years ago, it may have been when I was a very young child, but certainly I would remember something like that. I told you that it was almost my birthday. I see. That explains why I have no memory of it then. If I was as young as I suspect I was when this happened, if it truly did happen, because, believe me, I want to see the best in you. Sebastian hired you, so I do want to trust you. But you did kidnap me to keep me safe, and you did take a job solely because of its proximity to me. And it is difficult not to take your story with a grain of salt. However, if this happened as you say it did, then it would have happened shortly before. The fire, when I lost my parents. My mind was consumed with fear and panic and grief and of course, that would overshadow any singular act of kindness I had performed mere days prior. I would remember nothing but that fear for the rest of my life. I do remember nothing but that fear. I'm terribly, terribly sorry. I do think that I believe you. However, I don't have any memory of this, and I certainly don't understand why this would lead you to taking a job with absolutely no payment simply to be close to me. That day meant a lot to you. I can tell. However, don't you think this is a little extreme? Are you still living on the streets? You could have at least asked for payment from Sebastian. He could have talked to me. He could have... You've been staying in one of the empty rooms in the manor. I would have liked to have been informed of this. I would have appreciated that, so that I could perhaps not be scared out of my wits if I saw someone randomly walking through the halls of my home. Why did neither of you come to me and speak with me about this? I suppose it is true. The manor is a very large building. It is entirely possible for two people to coexist in it without ever bumping into each other. But even so, that is an entirely disturbing thought. And of course, I'm almost afraid now to ask again, why exactly do you claim to have kidnapped me to keep me safe? How exactly is this protecting me? I see. The people who have been watching my home, they don't know about you. So if they saw an altercation between the two of us, if they saw you attacking me and doing this to me, they would think that someone beat them to it. They would think that certainly I was done for, I was as good as dead. And they would leave. I see. So Sebastian intends to deal with them while you keep me hidden. I understand that, I do. It is certainly a very risky plan and a very frustrating one for me. However, to make it look as real as possible, I understand why it must be done this way. But must you really keep me bound like this? There are no doors or windows around us. None that lead outside, at least. I'm certain we don't need to play the part quite so accurately. What are you talking about? What do you mean about that? What are you going to say about this? About keeping me tied up in my own home now that I understand what is happening? You had to make sure I wouldn't run. Clearly, I have now been informed of what is going on. I am not going to run. I haven't been informed of everything. And what exactly must I still be informed about? Yes, I heard you the first time. That day that we met, it meant a lot to you. What about it? It made you feel something you've never felt before. I suppose it did. After all, not many noble-born children are kind to those who are less fortunate than they are. They're raised to be spoiled brats, oftentimes. I suppose I was spared that fate in the most cruel way possible. Oh, really? It isn't just that? What exactly is it then? I beg your pardon? You were living on the streets because your family kicked you out? Because you weren't like them? What do you mean? You are incapable of feeling emotions. Then how did I make you feel something you'd never felt before? I made you feel. Only I can make you feel. You took this job so you could be close to me. So that you could have easy access to me and my home. So that you could kidnap me as part of a plan to protect me. And then what would happen to me? You would be my savior, or would you keep me locked away? Find a way around Sebastian and the other servants? Is that what you've been planning? Have you been planning to keep me here? Is that why you tied me up? Why you keep me bound like this? You had to make sure I wouldn't run when I learned the truth, when you finally told me how you feel about me. You have no idea what is about to happen to you. I'm sorry. I realize that this might be cruel. But you have no place in this household anymore. Come to me, Sebastian.